from Waterloo's Public Access Studios. It's Miss Rocky and Shaviva's North End Update Live, bringing you the good stuff from a North End perspective. We see the good, we share the good, and it's making us all look good. Today's guests are Krista, Regenitter, and Mark Seaman of the Stanley Center for Peace and Security in Muscatine, Iowa. Welcome to Friday. You know what time it is.
Shakalaka! Yay! Yes, indeed. Boom shakalaka to you.
Yes.
We are so excited to have you here. Thank you so much, Violet. Let's give Violet a hand. Doesn't she
Indeed,
rock
yes.
that announcing job that she's had? That we pinned on her. The baby does a good job, doesn't she? She's just
Excellent, yes.
All right. We want to give you some Friday motivation because you've been waiting all week for that. So what do we have for Friday motivation, brought to you by Gallagher Bluedorn Performing Arts Center?
For your Friday motivation, find peace in imperfection. Recognize that nothing in life is perfect, including yourself and others.
That's right. Think about that. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Shaviva.
And this is North End Update. You've been waiting for us, and we're here. We've been waiting for you.
For
so
sure.
Thank you so much for
All
joining
right.
us.
We want to shout out to our special frequent viewers, and this is brought to you by the Waterloo Center for the Arts, James Russell,
Hey, James.
LaTanya Mathis,
Hey.
Lloyd Forney,
Yes.
Esther McGuire.
Hey, Esther, Linda
Yeah.
Matlock, Blue Meadows, I
Yes.
know him. Mills Culpepper, Blue Meadows, Mills Culpepper. Tracy Tolles, I know her.
That's right.
And Mikey Stamler. Thank you so much for watching.
All right. If you're watching us live right now, hey.
Hi.
Okay. If you usually watch us on Friday at 4 or Saturday at 10 a.m. on MediaCom, then this is Hello Future.
Hello, Future. We
Yeah.
see you, and we want to be there with you. Hopefully, we are there
Yep.
next week. Okay.
Okay.
And some of you watch our show on YouTube.
Yes.
And then there's some that even watch it on the City Channel. I heard we were on the City Channel. All you got to do is scroll down, look for us. We're there.
Okay.
So we're everywhere. 19 countries, 32 planets.
The
right?
furthest reaches of the galaxy.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Seriously. Today we got a great talking point. We're going to talk to our guests about what?
Yep. Spend time in nature. It's scientifically proven to reduce stress and improve your mood. Take a walk in the park. Breathe in fresh air and let nature recharge you.
Right. Someone may need to hear this, and I hope Krista wants to hear it and Mark wants to hear it, because we're going to ask them what they do outside. Probably everything. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
And today we'll talk with them too about our Give It Air discussion, and that's going to be when you learn, teach. When you get, give. And that's Maya Angelou said that. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and what that means to these educators, because they're all about that life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Newsflash to our birthday people, be sure to stick around for your shout out and song. Yeah.
Yes, because Krista can't sing a lick. But we're going to see what Mark can do, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Violet's laughing. You think he can sing, Violet? Just look at him. What you think?
Oh, see, don't put her on the spot like that.
Well, anyway, we got Ed in the house. He's gonna carry any slack there might be. I think we're ready to introduce our wonderful guest all the way from Muscatine. We're so glad that you're here.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to
Welcome.
both of you, Krista, Regenitter, and I've been practicing.
It's okay. You can just say Krista.
Okay, Krista, we love it when you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, and Mark Seaman, you have an easier name.
So nice to see you, Miss Rocky and Shaviva.
Likewise.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and talk about our talking point. Just kind of breaks the ice, and really, we should talk about their official titles.
Absolutely.
Let's let everybody know who
Krista
they are.
is the Program Officer of Global Education at the Stanley Center for Peace and Security. And Mark Seaman is the Vice President and the Director of Communications.
Yes. And we always mention the Soul Town. Are you familiar with the Soul Town magazine?
No.
Well, they're on 19 countries too, you know.
And 39 planets?
Yes,
That's right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's talk about the Soul Town, because our work is never done if they had not
That's
heard of
right.
it.
Whenever we got somebody who hasn't heard of the Soul Town, we got to let them know all about it. It is a lovely publication that was started right here in Waterloo, Iowa by Cherie Kaba, and it grew steadily from a more local kind of focus to now it actually is international. It's in like 18 or 19 countries. It's nationwide, and the topics and things of interest that they have in here, everything from advice to recipes to topical, things that are going on right in here and now.
And you can also watch our show.
Oh yeah, there's always that. Yes.
You can always also watch our show if you get the digital version. You see that little smiley face there? That's me and Chaliva. So anyway, the Soul Town magazine is on the shelves at Earth Beauty Supply, or you can go to thesoultownmagazine.com to get your virtual copy. Yes. Well, everybody has to know about that. So now we can talk about our topic.
Two more people that know about the Soul Town.
Exactly. That's a good thing. Right. I don't know what you have to do to get on the cover.
I don't know. Maybe we should ask.
I'm going to ask tomorrow. No.
Okay.
Okay, so listen, we have a talking point, and this is brought to you by Locke Funeral Services. And today we're going to talk about being outside in nature. It's scientifically proven to reduce stress and improve your mood. So the advice is take a walk in the park, breathe in fresh air, namaste, and let nature recharge you. Krista, talk about that. Do you spend much time or enough time getting recharged?
I love being in nature, but not enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be much better at like going for hikes. There's some around Muscatine. We have Wildcat Den, which is beautiful. It's a state park that it's the limestone bluffs, and it's gorgeous. And I haven't been out there in a while, and this is a good reminder that I need to do that. So, yeah, I do. I love trees. So it's a nice place to be surrounded by trees.
I know, right? We don't think of it really enough, How about you, Mark?
It's true. Yeah, Muscatine has a beautiful riverfront along the Mississippi.
That's right.
And there's a walking trail there that goes for miles, all the way up to Davenport, I think, actually.
Wow.
And so it's excellent just to take an afternoon on a day like today and go for a long walk.
Yes, indeed. And it's the best way to recharge now, Shaviva.
Yeah.
Shaviva came from Chicago, and it's a concrete
jungle.
Right?
Yes.
And when she first moved here, she knew nothing about gardening. And I was really, I feel like I was an inspiration. Now, she grows everything. And I mean, stuff that I can't even grow. So I know you enjoy the outdoors in that way.
I do, but like Krista, probably I don't get out there. Some things you take for granted. Now, when it's cold and you wish you could get outside and do some things, it's like, oh, no, but it's cold. Then when it gets warm, find all of the inside stuff that I need to do. But yes, I do love gardening, and that's a good opportunity to get out there and dig in.
Put your phone down, get off the laptop, and
get your hands dirty.
Get your hands dirty. That's right. Okay, we'll move on to Give It Air, and it's brought to you by Experience Waterloo. And what is our Give It Air today, Shaviva?
Okay, it's when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Maya Angelou shared that with us.
Yes.
And now we're going to have Violet read a little.
What is it about my Black history is a legacy? Okay, that part. Violet.
Black history is a legacy of passing down knowledge, wisdom, and opportunity. From the oral traditions of African ancestors to the freedom schools of the civil rights movement and the present day education has always been an act of resistance and empowerment. Dr. Maya Angelou understood that knowledge is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be shared. Every breakthrough we celebrate today results from someone who learned and then taught, someone who received and then gave back. From Frederick Douglass, who taught himself to read and an advocate for literacy, to Carter G. Woodson, who created Black History Month to ensure our stories are never forgotten. The tradition of teaching and giving has kept our culture strong. Let's honor that legacy by teaching the next generation what you know about our history, our heroes, and our resilience. Give back in whatever ways you can, throughout mentorship, storytelling, or service. The fighting for justice equity, and empowerment continues, and our responsibility is to pass the torch.
Yes,
Thank you,
so
Violet.
much. And I sometimes get choked up when I hear my granddaughter read stuff like that, because it's so important, that we do pass on stuff like the Susie Clark story.
Yeah.
So, we want to talk to you about how, I know you're an educator. You're always helping kids and being involved.
Yeah.
And I know with peace and security,
Yeah.
you guys have a big hand in telling stories and making sure they're told. What are your thoughts on Maya Angelou's quote?
Oh, I think it's very inspirational, and it's true because, you just described it. You were the teacher who became the student in gardening.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now she's bringing over bountiful
Okay.
stuff, and I'm like, really, Shaviva?
But that's how the world goes around, is that we learn things and then we pass things on and then we learn some more. I don't think it's linear that you learn and then teach. It's you learn, you teach, you learn, you teach, right? It's a very cyclical thing, because if we stop learning, what's left, right?
Yeah,
we got to learn
absolutely.
forever. So
Right.
yeah, and I think that is what keeps life interesting, is there's
Yes.
always something more to learn.
Yes, and it's always great to be gracious, because you can't expect everyone to know everything. And you know what comes to my mind is when you asked me we talked about writing the book, and I wrote something about Muscatine, and I spelled it with a K.
Oh, okay.
And she said, "Oh, well, we spell Muscatine with a C." And I'm like, "Well, I should have looked on the map at least to
You
find
can
out
smell
how
it however you like.
So she was gracious and kind, and I find Shaviva to do the same with me. If I don't know something, she doesn't say, "You don't know that," How do you feel about teaching and learning?
I love Dr. Angelou's quote, especially when you give. And that's really where the Stanley Center came from. We were created in the 1950s by the Stanley family, who just believed in bringing people together for conversation, who believed in sort of this mission that, one group of people doesn't know it all, that you need this giant kind of collaboration and different perspectives to get to better solutions.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, well, the Stanley Center is what it's all about, and that's the reason you guys are here today. We want to ask you a little bit about yourselves. Krista, we'll start with you. Talk to our viewers about who you are and what you do at the center, and what part is your job in the mission to increase all the stuff that you guys do. What is your part in the wonderful stuff?
Yeah, so as the program officer for global education, what that means at the Stanley Center is I am the outreach arm to our local community. A lot of the work that we do is global in nature, which is very inspirational and very important. But the Stanley family was very committed to our local community in Muscatine and eastern Iowa and Iowa, and so I get to work with partners at school districts and community partners to bring opportunities to our community to learn about other people and places and to grow our global understanding and awareness. And so we do that in lots of different ways, which is exciting because we do lots of different things, but it's really all about how do we grow as people? How do we learn so that we can teach? And that's what I get to do. And so it's pretty exciting. And so I call myself an out-of-school educator. I've always kind of had roles throughout my career, working alongside school districts and working with youth and out-of-school situations like summer camps and things like that. And so I really do enjoy working with young people, but I as much enjoy working with our community partners in Muscatine and adult education. So I have a lot of great opportunities through the Stanley Center to learn myself and to bring learning opportunities to the community.
Yes, and you do such a great job.
Thank you.
They got the right person.
Yes, she does. Yes, we did.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes. Now moving to you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Shaviva.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing to you, Mark. Talk a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Stanley Center.
Sure. I'm actually a transplant to Iowa. I grew up on the East Coast and moved out here about 7 years ago now. And the founders of the Stanley Center, Max and Betty Stanley, Max was an engineer. in the 1930s and 40s. And when you solve an engineering problem, you can't just do it by yourself. You need the water experts and the sun and soil experts and all these kinds of different experts in different fields to come in and help inform the solution. And Max Stanley was really interested in international affairs in the United Nations, and that's why he created the center in the 1950s. To take it from just ambassadors having conversations with one another to people like you and me, the private sector, civil society, all kinds of elements of our world coming together to talk about these problems. And that's the way we still continue to operate today. And his wife Betty was really devoted to children and growing diverse perspectives in the Muscatine community and really giving back. And that's sort of where the Susie Clark story was born out of, is that kind of vision for enhancing understanding of these really important stories.
Right. And I think we were talking in Violet's reading, it talked about how Black culture has passed down so many stories orally, and it was a form of learning, is a form of resistance. And I know that's a word we're hearing a lot of today, is resist, because some of the policies we don't believe that's coming from this administration. So having a form of resistance that's also going to help yourself and learn more, I think is so important. And you brought up Susie Clark, and I think it's a great time to talk about this little girl, the bravest girl you've ever seen, right?
Yes.
Yes. And talk about Susie Clark. What does she mean to Muscatine? She's the queen, of course.
Yes. The story of the Clark family has been one that's been lost a couple of times, really, in history. And so Susie's dad, Alexander Clark, moved to Muscatine when he was about 16 years old. And he was born a free Black man in the United States, but was very ingenuitive and entrepreneurial, I think, are good descriptions of him. And he came to Muscatine, and he worked as a barber, among other things, and he kind of made a name for himself and through the support of his family. But his children went to what was then called the African School at the AME Church in Muscatine. But they only had so many resources. And they had, I think the schooling went through 8th grade, and a lot of the materials that they had were passed on and that kind of thing. And so he really believed in education. And that became, like, that's a through line through his whole life, is believing in education.
Because he was an educated man.
Well, he became an educator. Yes, he did.
That's right. He did go later.
And so he wanted his children to go to what was the public school that was only for white people at that time. And he tried sending his children a couple of different times, and they were kicked out routinely. And then in 1867, he sent Susan again, and she was turned away. So then they filed a lawsuit that went all the way up to the Iowa Supreme Court against the Muscatine Community School District. And the Iowa Supreme Court in 1868.
1868. It's so hard to believe.
It's so long ago,
it's true.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then thinking about Iowa at that time, I think, is really interesting, because that's right about the time that the Iowa Supreme Court ruled that the Meskwaki could purchase property in Iowa. Like, you know, there were some really forward-thinking things happening through court orders at that time in Iowa. So that's an interesting piece of the story, too. But really, what I love about how you wrote this book, and then we can talk about how Rochelle Chase is writing the middle grade book, is that there is no historical evidence of how Susie felt. We don't really know. Did she want to go to the white school? Was she excited? We've commissioned a play with the University of Iowa, and in that take, Susie's ready to go, and she really wants, like, she's, wants that education. And then I think in your book, you realistically kind of portray, she's probably pretty nervous. Like, that had to have been really intimidating and overwhelming. But we don't really know. And so I think it's a nice way that we can recognize this true story, but also imagine, because we can only imagine, because we don't know.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the fact of being the mother of Black children and knowing my perspective and how I think that I would have had to done such a thing. How do you send your child out into the world
Yes.
when you know that there are people there that don't want her there.
Yeah.
And so the book says, Susie's dad says, I know what to do. Let's have one school instead of having two. Like it's so easy. Right? But the Supreme Court did go rule along with it.
Yeah.
So.
But it's also important, I think, in our conversations to recognize that in many places in Iowa, they still struggled. You know, there was lots and lots of places that didn't enact the court ruling, and you know, it wasn't like Iowa changed overnight. That there was a lot of struggles that happened. But then there were a lot of people. You know, our illustrator Haley Calvin, her grandma was the first Black mayor of Clinton. And you know, that was possible because she had access to education. And so you can see these, and you've talked about your dad's story.
I still can't get over my dad because nobody knew Grant School has always been integrated. My dad was there in the 20s and 30s, him and his sister Anna Weems. In the 20s and 30s, and I would always say, Daddy, how did you get to go to school with white people? And he was like, no. Nobody knew. That was his
Now you
answer.
know.
Now we know is this little brave girl.
Yep, I had never heard of Susie Clark until Rocky started working on this book, and then just hearing of these things, and then realizing for how long the school system had been integrated here. And I'm from Chicago, and that's like the exact opposite of my, educational background. I mean,
And you know, Shaviva, I grew up on the East Coast, as I mentioned, and so when I moved to Iowa and first heard this story, I assumed everybody in Iowa knew it. Okay. And I was really struck to find out that it's just this untold story that so many people beyond Iowa need to know.
Oh, yes. Just a note to our viewers, the Rocky and Shaviva page, if we're not answering your comments, is because we only have access to North End Update today. So please know, after the show, we'll get back to you and your name will go in the drawing for next week's prize. But I think it's a good time to have a drawing before I forget. Okay? So I don't want to forget this because we had so many comments. Did you know Nicole Hannah-Jones was on our show 2 weeks ago?
Wow.
Yes.
And what?
Yes, right.
Really?
We had some different people last week, so people are really watching, and we just want to make sure they win their copy of the Susie Clark book, since we're talking about Susie Clark.
Awesome.
Is our
Is it a signed copy?
It'll be a signed copy, of course. Yes, a signed
and
copy.
the winter is okay. The winter.
Who is it?
The winner is Purvis Williams.
Yes.
Purvis, all right.
That's a go-getter right here in the community. Okay, now let's talk about, so we know about The Bravest Girl, and Shaviva. This is the children's book that's meant for children from 1st through, I'd say 5th grade, really.
We've read it to high schoolers
There
and
you
adults
go.
that like it. So
Yes.
let's just say first grade on up.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and so now we're going to switch gears and talk about the one that Shaviva's working in, Rochelle Chase is on, and I think you guys are on the same board, so either of you can talk. But first, we got some comments, Violet. What do we have?
Robert Tyson says we are listening. Blessings.
Okay, hey,
thank
Bob.
you. Great frequent viewer. So do you want to talk about the new upcoming book, or?
Yeah, I can start it out. But so sort of inspired by this desire to tell this story, Rochelle Chase has been a very good friend of ours at the Stanley Centers for quite some time. And she was interested in telling the Susan Clark story and the Alexander Clark story, but maybe to a slightly older audience, to the middle grades. And she wrote a fantastic book called The Time I Was Susan Clark. It's an excellent story about a young girl who goes back in time and meets Susan Clark and becomes her, and finally in the end starts to understand the importance of this story. And right now Shaviva also had contributed some gorgeous illustrations to it.
Yes, I think Agnes has some on the screen. And Shaviva, what beautiful work.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yes. And this is him working in the barber shop as a barber. I have never seen a lot of these sketches. So, and this is the finished problem because it's black and white, right, for the older children's book. So, beautiful. And then the outhouse, where was that? What was that about, Shaviva?
Well, it was, Susie needed to go.
Oh, you gotta go.
And she was taken, but that was her companion, Henry.
Oh,
And
sure.
he took her to, and she was, oh man, you know, so many things to get used to, because she literally is cast from her life in the present and all the different things that are creature comforts. And then all of a sudden she's in the 1800s.
Right, she has an Apple Watch in class. I remember she
That's
was
right.
reading
In present day.
In
Yes.
present day, she had
Yes.
an Apple Watch, and then she goes back in time, which is
That was a wonderful opportunity. I told you all before about working on these illustrations, and so there you saw a couple of them. I can't wait for this book to come out to see it paired with the story, because it's really a great and engaging story, and it's for in a way, I guess, younger people, but I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I enjoyed the
It's
entire
really a great read.
And when we decided on the target audience for these books, we looked at the standards, the school standards, and there were things that fit for that kind of first, second grade audience, and so that's what this is geared toward, and then fifth, sixth audience for grade audience for the middle grade book. And so we're hoping that they will also complement well in Iowa schools and the different standards about teaching Iowa history.
Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of
There's
these-
also a study guide. Is that what you were going to say?
Yes, it
There's
is.
a
Took the words right out of my
guide
mouth.
that goes right with this book. So make sure you reach out. There's a link on my personal Facebook page, and also go ahead and say the link.
You can go to stanleycenter.org/Susie, and you can find a video of Miss Rocky reading the book. Also, it's there for free to download your own PDF copy, and there's some information there about how to order a copy for yourself if you'd like, at cost. So we're not making any profits off of the book. There's a discount code available there so that you can get the book at cost. There's also a Spanish version
That's
of
right.
Susie
the
Clark.
Spanish version.
Yeah,
version.
yeah, and so I was just going to also offer an update on Rochelle's book. We're currently in talks with publishers and hope to have it out before the end of the year.
Oh boy, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Awesome.
I'll be the friend that's just tagging along with Rochelle and
yeah.
Eva, and yes, and we have some comments, Violet.
Miss Lori Ann Dale says, in all caps, boom shakalaka, hey y'all.
Oh, Lori, we hope you're still going to join us later, Lori. So yeah, anything else you want our viewers to know about Susie, the history?
Well, just to
books.
reiterate, if you go to stanleycenter.org/Susie, then there's all kinds of resources. At the bottom of that page is the educator's guide that you referred to. But your video of reading the book, I think we were really excited. We knew you were going to the library and they were going to record it. But man, they took some of the illustrations out of the book and they put it with. They did such a nice job.
They did,
And so that was pretty. There we go. As you can see, where there's a ebook that's online. There's PDFs of both the English and Spanish, and so
cool.
there's lots and lots of resources on this page to get the story out. So there's your video of you reading the story. I just love how they put the different things.
And
That's
I brought
fantastic.
okra. That's right. I had
Yes.
okra in the garden, so I thought this will make a nice little display. So yeah.
Well, the cover of your magazine reminded me of the story there a little bit.
This,
There was a story about the
her hair.
yes, absolutely, and
Excuse me.
connection to it. But we had mentioned that education is about resistance. I think education is about resilience too. And so knowing this story, telling this story, kind of toughens us all up in a way that makes us stronger.
Yeah. And I want to say that it's been a pleasure working with both of you on these projects.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's I feel very lucky to have gotten to know both of you, but to be able to expand our network in Iowa, it's been pretty special.
Yes, it has. Thank you all both so much for being here today. And right about this time is when we start greeting our birthday people.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and it's brought to you by Deuce Entertainment. And you all may not know this, but every single week we have the best birthday people ever.
Nice.
That's because we got the best viewers and the best guests. So, we're just winning all the way around. All right. We want to say happy birthday to Jacob Ferguson,
Yay, Jacob!
Happy
Susan
birthday.
LaPen Angel, Linda Lockett,
Linda Lockett, all
Yes.
right.
Tim
Happy birthday,
Cooper.
Linda. Hey, Tim.
Rodney Frost, Ron Nesby. Want me to
Shirley,
keep? There you go.
you read.
Okay, Shirley Ann Smith-Burt, Shelley Carey, Van Esther Tally Gardner, way down there in Texas, right?
Yes.
All right.
Vanessa.
Nilvia Reyes Rodriguez, Catherine Ferguson.
Oh my goodness,
That's
her
right.
birthday. Oh my goodness, it's coming, yes.
Okay, and Audrey Wallaken Green.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Sorry guys, I swallowed my water wrong. My microphone is still off.
Okay.
One of those shows, I get all choked up. The people from Muscatine are here.
All right.
I just got beside myself.
Okay.
I'm back though.
All right.
All right, we got some great time. We're gonna sing because we already told them Krista can't sing.
Oh
a
no,
lick.
I can't sing at all, and that's real. I hope you know how real that is.
Well, you do sing at birthday parties, and this
Quietly.
is a birthday party. And we're singing the Stevie Wonder version,
Okay.
and everybody loves that.
And
one
we
the
sing
best.
loud because we can't sing good.
Right.
All right.
Okay. My goodness.
You need to bring Chris back.
I know, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, Chris needs to come back and sing. I'm sure you would agree
Couldn't fit more perfectly
than to have a world party.
on the day
Here
you
comes
came
your
to
part.
be. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
Audrey Wallaken
There you
Green
go.
and Ron Nesby and the rest of y'all. All right. Well, you guys have, it's just been a pleasure having you. Sorry I got so excited that I choked on my
It's
water.
been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Oh, it's fun for sure. And it's even more fun having you guys here because you always treat us. We've been to Muscatine so many times, and I know you can't join us for eating tonight. But you will be missed because
so sweet.
it's always so nice to hang out with you guys. and
Likewise.
break bread, and so we'll get to eat with you, Krista, right?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Lori, you heard that. Get on down here. Okay, and we got some great shows coming up. We're wrapping it up, Agnes. Guests for our future show.
Okay,
She's
I
laughing
heard
back
her laugh,
there.
yeah.
We love you. Who are they? You don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll find out later.
All right.
The longer we live, the more we learn.
For sure.
And this is brought to you by ISU Extension and Outreach. What have you learned, Shaviva?
Hey, I've learned that at every fork in the road, we make choices. And it is those choices that shape our lives.
That's right. Okay, and I've learned that you can't just take anything you want out of life without putting something back in exchange.
For
it's kind
sure.
of like give and take.
Definitely.
Right. So keep passing on that knowledge, and until next week, we want you to keep doing way more stuff that makes you awesome.
That's right, like Krista
And Mark.
and Mark
And Violet.
and Violet.
And Ed.
Yes.
And Agnes.
That's right, because it makes us all look good.
See you
All right.
next week.
Yes.